So what's kind of, now that we added the component where you're going to ramp it up to 11, what are some things that we noticed?
Vowels, or not vowels, but certain consonants.
Yeah, like Jared said to you, is like certain words, and like guys who've been in the military know this, right? Like there's a reason why like you don't say the word march when you give commands. Right. What do you say? Yeah, you say harch or arch, right? Because that's a sound you can say sharp and hard, right? But march is not. It's a mushy sound. So just like, kind of simple ideas with that. Yeah, what else?
The speed that the guy's approaching, that's what I was having difficulty with.
Yeah, and so that's a good point, which we touched on a little bit, but you got to skip steps sometimes, right? So we have kind of our 3 steps, which is like, hey, could you hold up there, bud? Hold up, and then my loud like stop, right? But what if Aaron's walking at me, so Aaron's walking to me, and when I ask him to stop, he just comes fast. Hey, could you hold up right there, bud? Stop! Right? Like sometimes you got to skip steps. Like, this is where like the kind of the common sense component comes into that, right? Which is like, go ahead and come at me kind of fast. Hey, could you hold up there, bud? Hold up. And I'm like, okay. Like he's already touching me, right? So common sense kind of applies with that. Like you gotta skip steps, in there. But also like now we could think of it as like his verbal component. What if I go, hey, could you hold up right there, bud? And he goes, how about I fucking kill you instead? I'm not gonna be like, listen, bud, what's going on today? Right? Like you have to moderate your own kind of response stuff on that. Does that make sense, right? What else? What other kind of stuff were we either good or bad?
When I give the yell command, I was stepping forward instead of continuing to step back.
Yep.
And that escalates it more.
That's potentially, and not that I could say that like, oh, you can never do that, but that's a good point, which is, and this happens a lot in like my weapons-based classes, which is the things that you're saying out loud need to match what your body is doing and vice versa. Like when I teach knife classes, it's really common when we get to the cutting or the thrusting and we're telling somebody to like keep distance or maintain distance, and I'll get someone who's going, stay back, stay back, stay back, stay back. I'm like, bro, you're marching him down. Like that's like, like that's not what you're saying. So that's absolutely, to make sure that like words are matching actions, when it comes to body language stuff, for sure. What else?
At least for me, I kept moving my hand back for some reason.
Yeah, you look awkward as shit over there, right? Yeah. No, but this is weird, right? Especially when you've never done this, like, kind of like explicitly like trained this. It's weird, right? Because that's not how you ever interact, like with your buddies out there, right? Like with your buddies, you probably stand there, you stand like that, or whatever. But now I'm asking you to try to control another adult, or whatever. But I just mean like it could be not an adult, but sorry, Jared is actually an adult. But I'm asking you to control another person with your words and with your body language, but also asking you to control him in a way that he doesn't know that he's being controlled, right? And it's weird when you start trying to put that together, but that's something you got to work on. So like I said, is like, work on your hand placements, and this is stuff like I'll do this at home, like in the mirror, particularly like when I know I'm about to teach classes. I'll practice my fence stuff, or I'll try to practice like my hand actions like in the mirror and just see what it looks like, or get my phone out and just record it while I do it, because it's like in my head I'm like, oh man, I look so fluid, like I was a natural born Italian, I'm just talking like this, but in reality it's not natural for me, like it doesn't look right. So just trying to work through it for sure.
Staying at the same tone.
Yeah, moderating with the tone of your voice, absolutely. Yep. So a couple more things that we kind of wanted to expand just a little bit. So Aaron kind of brought this up, which is like, hey, what way should I be moving, right? So if I'm moving in relation to the guy, what do we think, how should I move in relation to an unknown contact, a field contact who's, kind of in some ways closing the distance on me?
Like sideways.
Not straight backwards. Straight.
Not straight backwards. We could say circling would be a good way. So a couple of reasons why. One, from a strictly social dynamic standpoint, I do not want to appear overly submissive to somebody that I don't know, because overly submissive behavior draws dominance behavior. And a lot of what you're dealing with when it comes to territorial stuff and dominance things are dominance dynamics. Same thing that happens in the animal kingdom. When this lion goes roaming around over here and deals with that lion or whatever, right? So it's like, if I'm like, hey, hold up, bud, or whatever, and everything about me is just like, palms out like this or that, that is very submissive behavior. So the chances that I successfully control a guy who is not just a stranded motorist or whatever low. So that's where, that's why I'm using my hands, but also that's where, like, I'll kind of, circle myself, move myself, around the guy, if that kind of makes sense. Other reasons why I would want to do that. What are other reasons why I would move that way?
You don't want to trip and fall, turning around.
If I just walk straight backwards, at some point I'm going to run into something and trip. Can't see behind me, for sure. Yep.
+2,
What?
+1, another individual around them.
Potentially, right? Like the most successful hunters in the wild are pack hunters, right? So if he's actually trying to set me up for something, he's engaging me, or he's trying to get my eyes over here, where do you think his friend is? Somewhere over here. So yeah, but I don't know what's going on, dealing with this. I can move and I can get eyes on things that I can't see, areas that I can't see for potential, potential acquaintance, or not acquaintances. What's the word I'm looking for? Accomplices. That one. What else?
So you can maneuver them where you want them to be.
Potentially, yeah. The other thing, this will come more into play when we talk about kind of our basic like doorman's fence, is if I'm talking about from the strictly physical standpoint or the fight-related standpoint, where is the most dangerous place to stand in relation to another opponent? Directly in front of them. Why?
He has all his tools.
Aaron does Art of 8 Limbs, right? So if I stand directly in front of you, what can you hit me with? Everything. Both your hands, both your arms, both your legs, both your feet, right? You have all limbs available to you. But if I'm moving and I'm kind of talking like this, what am I doing?
Cutting it in half.
Cutting it in half, right? He can only reach me with the near side limbs. That is the most foundational, not the most, it's like the second most foundational concept of all combat sports, aside from distance management, is you circle because one, you want to create angles, and you circle because now you cut down on the attacking limbs. Does that kind of make sense? Right? All right. Anybody got major questions on that? Nope. Okay, so now what we're going to kind of break down into, and this will be the last component of like just kind of the regular out and about stuff before we get into the more security oriented things. So now we've broken down all these things. The guy is closing in. So now we're going to go into what we call a default cover position, which would be like, how do I deal with an impending strike or attack or something like that? And then when we get into our kind of doorman's fence, we're going to add a couple of then like offensive things that we would do. So, like I said, we're kind of, we're dealing with, we've got our hands up and around our head to protect the head. All right, so now when we go to actually protect the head, I like one of two default covers. So the one that I prefer the most is just, in boxing we just call this like a double horizontal elbow or a double cross block when it comes to that. You see George Foreman use this a lot when he came back and was Fat Foreman, and Fat Foreman, my favorite boxer ever. Like, you saw this a lot. Frazier used it against Muhammad Ali in the Rumble in the Jungle. That's how he would close in the distance to put him up against the ropes. So all that the default cover position for this is going to be, or from the crossed elbow, is that when I'm here and here, all right, I'm going to cross my left elbow, all right, in front of my face, with my hand in front of my face. I'm going to bury my head into that arm, right? So I'm here and here. This hand is going to bury across. All right, I'm going to put this arm is going to bury across. I'm going to put my head into it. My other arm is going to be on top of it. So I'm going to be here and here, on top of it, all right? So you guys relax for a second so you can see me. You guys are all doing it yourself. So what it's going to look like, so a couple things. So first component is going to be that I'm going to change my base so that I've got a little bit of physical base to deal with. So the basics of that, feet go wider, butt goes down. That's all it's going to be. So I'm standing in this position, right? Boom, feet go wider, butt goes down. Basic athletic position, you don't need to make it any more complicated than that, right? So boom, I'm gonna drop into a better base position. Then, as I go here and here, I'm gonna drop into that base position. I'm gonna put my head into that elbow. Okay, so now, why do we think that I would cover this way? What would be reasons that I would do this versus something else?
Direct.
I mean, yes, right? But now, so Aaron fights, right? Aaron does a lot of like stand-up, a lot of kickboxing and things like that. Now, is it a good idea in a self-defense situation to be playing a slip-based or a dodging-based defensive game, do we think?
No.
Right now, you're gonna get hit with a weapon. I don't.
Could get hit with a weapon, but also you don't know what strike is coming, right? So that's something that we take from the combat sports all the best things that we can, but then we need to apply it to the self-defense, the personal protection side of things, which is that one thing you have to know about all combat sports, we're talking striking in this instance here, is that you purposely assume greater levels of potential risk in order to be in a position to try to score points. And what I mean by that is, I said, I've got Aaron out here with me, right? And I'll just throw, pretend this is just regular kickboxing practice, so you're up in your guard here or whatever, throw a hook, right? Go ahead, counter me, right? Boom, hook, right? So he's gonna block and he's gonna counter. Now, is he still gonna take the impact from that hook? Yeah. Could it still get through his guard and hurt him? Yes, right? But why is he doing that in a sport context?
So he can get back at you.
Try to score points.
One, he's in distance, but also he's making the bet that if he blocks that, he's going to be able to return his straight and score better points, right? Potentially cause more damage. But he's taking a risk in doing it. When it comes to the self-defense side, not a good idea to take the risks. So that's why we're going to dumb it down into basically covering all the things that we can, because I don't know if it's a hook, I don't know if it's a straight, I don't know if it's an overhand, I don't know if it's a weapon coming straight down, I don't know what it is, right? Because we take the same kind of situation. So imagine he's in all like sport mode and okay, cool. Is that going to knock him out or kill him? Probably not, but he made a calculated guess wrong and he got hit, right? So that's kind of a way to sort of think about what we're doing when it comes to a default cover position. I'm trying to dumb everything down into protecting me from as many things as possible because I don't know what's coming. Okay, so in this default cover position, so again, I'm here and here. So I've got my good fence up. The arms cross, the head buries into the elbow. So I'll bring Aaron back out here again, right? So if I get into my good, like cross arm position, right? So Aaron, go ahead and just throw regular strikes at me, right? Right? Who thinks I've got pretty decent protection from him throwing his hard straight? Well, right? What if he throws a big overhand at me? Right? Pretty good protection. What if he throws a hard hook, right? Comes with that hook. Pretty good protection, okay? Pretty good protection from everything, right? Let's imagine Aaron's got a weapon. Knew these would come in handy. John and I were sword fighting with him the other night. So he's got, hopefully I see the guy coming before he's got a 2.5 foot long frickin' pipe over here. But now, same thing, I'm dealing with this. I put my guard up, he comes in. Who thinks I've got reasonable protection against that?
But you're stepping in, right?
Also, I'm lowering myself, and if I think he's coming in, I'm moving in with him a little bit, right? Now, same thing. So I'm here and here. Go ahead. Pretty good protection. If I have to take a shot in the head, top of the head is the place that I have to take it. But does that make sense? At least we're doing conceptually. Is anybody super confused by that? Okay.